So this is my second time trying to record this video because I'm stupid. This is my first time uh, doing a YouTube video where I show my face and make an actual like spoken album review. So I'm still figuring things out. Anyways, I just wasted successfully 15 minutes of my life. Either way, just to contextualize, I found this album just scrolling through radio music, and when I saw a Brazilian album with like MPB in the genres, I said I have to listen to this. You know, a 2025 album that blends MPB, dream pop, and all that kind of stuff, and it was worth it. Antropoceno is this project by Brazilian musician Lua Viana. She, I believe, is from Rio de Janeiro, if I'm not wrong, and she has this project called Sonhos Tomam Conta. It's this shoegaze project that has collaborated with some artists that I unfortunately cannot call the name right now for the I think third studio album that was released with that name. Anyways, some really good shoegaze if you're into that. I really liked the second album, Hypno something. I can't recall the name exactly. But this is a Antropoceno is a completely different purpose. Yeah, it's similar somehow. It's this experimental samba album that blends with elements of dream pop, shoegaze, and post rock and post metal. So kind of atmospheric samba, or if you wanna go completely nuts and say a name that doesn't make any sense, samba gaze. I don't know why would anyone say that though. This is a very strong album. The album starts with what's the name of the track? Queda do Céu, I believe, the fall of the sky, and it's about the point of view of a person, probably in Brazil. It's a Brazilian album, who is directly affected by the climate change and is talking about their experience with dealing with those things, and it makes clear what Lua wants to do with Antropoceno. Not only lyric-wise, this ambientalist view. I don't know, is that the word in English, ambientalist? I have no idea, but you get what I mean, I think. And also this samba sound, very much inspired by the more atmospheric side of alternative rock and dream pop. That song specifically doesn't feature lots of elements from post metal, but later in the album, those elements are very clear. But the overall vibe that this song evokes is very close to some stuff that I've heard in dream pop, and that applies to most of the album. It's really, really inspired by that dream pop feeling with the samba songwriting, maybe a dream pop approach to samba. The second track, I forgot its name. I think it's 35 graus Celsius de bulbo úmido, something like that. And it's this faster samba sound with a little bit of this very nice post-rock, post-metal session towards the end, and it really shows off Vienna's ability to mix the samba sound with this more atmospheric music in a very good way. It almost feels effortless to me. The third track, The Waves, features a musician from a South Korean band. I forgot the name of that, I'm sorry. But they collaborated for the end of the Neon Youth, something related to that, uh, uh, which was released with Sonhos Tomam Conta and another artist that I also forgot the name of. Yeah, my memory is not really good. Anyways, and The Waves goes from this nice mid-tempo samba to this post-metal with black metal vocals, and it's really incredible. I don't think that those vocals, I would go on and say that those vocals wouldn't be even a problem for someone who isn't into screams, because they just feel so natural in the song. It's unbelievable. I guess it's her most streamed song in this project on Spotify, and somehow it got to a New York Times playlist. Anyways, Uh, there is one aspect of this album that I really like, talking about atmosphere, and it is the production. So it has Samba is a genre that usually has this clear sound, like in Cartola's 1974 self-titled record, one of my favorite albums of all time. Jorge Ben's Força Bruta, other amazing album. If you want to get into Samba, that one is great. And of course, stuff like Os Afro Sambas de Baden e Vinicius, I believe that's the name of the album, they all go towards this clearer sound, if that makes sense. While in the case of Natureza Morta, Viana actually went for this kind of dissolved sound, everything blending very, very smoothly into each other. Not something I usually like, but this time it was incredibly effective on sort of making the album stronger in its purpose, which is to have the soothing sound of samba, as far as my interpretation goes, to have the soothing sound of samba with the more melancholic uh, more melancholic, yeah, that's the word, sound of the darker side of post rock and shoegaze. And it kind of makes sense to me, and it creates this very bittersweet, nostalgic feeling. Relating that to the lyrics is probably the feeling of like thinking about a world where climate change isn't that big of a problem, you know? And that is done flawlessly with the production and songwriting working together. Speaking of songwriting, I'd like to talk about Samba do Fim do Mundo, the fourth track, my personal favorite from the album, and probably my personal favorite song of the year so far. It has this soothing samba sound with the dream pop atmosphere. This one doesn't go much into the post metal territory, but it has the atmosphere overall. Some very interesting relationship between the instrumental parts and the lyrics. I really like how the vocals flow on this one. Just listen to the first few verses and you'll get what I mean. There's a little break towards the end of the song, and then the song comes back. That's a nice way to just give the listener some breath, some space to breathe, because it is surprisingly intense for a samba album. And there's also the title track Natureza Morta, which is this flawless, I mean flawless blend of post metal, shoegaze, and samba. That's something I never imagined I'd hear, to be honest. I didn't think I'd ever say shoegaze, post metal, and samba in the same sentence, but here we are. The track goes in a very natural way from this melancholic samba to this aggressive post metal session towards the end. And it's really nice how everything flows on that one. I just wish it was a little bit longer, actually. Um, and then it transitions perfectly into the seventh track that I forgot the name of. My memory is not good, but it's basically the same instrumental part with a few uh, audio cuts that I believe are from uh, journalism, TV journalism, or something like that. At least it seems like that. Talking about the climate change, and it's an incredibly melancholic uh, climax for that part of the album, and everything just feels like it culminates there, and there's even more, and it doesn't feel like there shouldn't be more. It feels like there should be more, and there's more, and it's very well constructed. You know, the narrative, even though there isn't exactly a narrative, but I think you get what I mean. The development of the sound. Sorry for my dog. I think you can hear her barking. Yeah, you definitely can. Anyways, it has this very well constructed development along across the album. Not the correct word, but I think you can make sense of what I'm trying to say. So it's really interesting how Lua Viana gets these soothing sounds of samba in a kind of simple way, and mixes that with this uh, atmospheric post rock soundscapes in a very natural way, creating this sort of journey through the melancholy that someone feels when they face the consequences of climate change. I have been there. I am not super affected by it because of the place I live, but I do feel really bad about that. And it's kind of sad that there are people who are directly affected by it, and many consequences go into that. Northeast Brazil is not going through good situations with climate change, for example. And I think this album makes the listener think a lot about the message of it, uh, through this bittersweet feeling of the sound with the very melancholic lyrics. I don't want to be an Anthony Fantano clone, but I'll have to say overall I rate this album a strong 10. My standout tracks are Samba do Fim do Mundo and 35 Graus Celsius de Bulbo Úmido. I'm pretty sure that's the title. I definitely recommend this to any fan of dream pop, any fan of samba, any fan of shoegaze. This is a very, very interesting and underrated release, if you allow me to use that word. Anyways, album of the year so far. Maybe that will change, maybe not, probably not, because this thing is way too good. Anyways, sorry for the low quality video, and thanks for watching. Subscribe for more album reviews or bass and piano content. I don't know what I'll post here, but yeah. I hope you like it. Thanks.